Thank you very much. How about another hand for Mark Tucker on piano over there? And our bassist, Tyler Richardson. And I just gotta say a note, I'm very proud of Tyler. This is the first semester that he's ever played in a big band or a larger jazz ensemble. So he's doing a great job, and his buddy over there, Alan Schiffer on guitar as well. Now, our next composition was written by a trumpet player by the name of Kenny Dorham, and Kenny was, what's that? But it's still a good piece. He says, but it's still a good piece. We get no respect. Yours is coming. Yours is coming. Kenny Dorham was a great bebop and hard bop trumpet player, and he didn't have the technique of some of the other guys that were around at the time, but he was just a brilliant musician, and I think very underrated. And he wrote a lot of really cool tunes, and this is probably the best known tune that he wrote. And of course, it's played a lot at jam sessions because it's not a real long form. It's only a 16-bar tune. But in 16 bars, he does a heck of a lot. And the cool thing is, right in the middle, he has a little key change. It goes, for you jazz people out there, it goes 2, 5, 1 in the key of D flat. Well, it's in the key of C. So he goes up a half step and implies a new key right kind of in the middle. It's really a wonderful thing when you're up here trying to figure out where you are. And this was arranged by Mark Taylor. I'll try to tell you a little bit about some of the arrangers as we go. Mark Taylor, who was in the Army band for many years and was the chief arranger for Pershing's Own band, which is, like the top military band in the United States Army. And your tax dollars are going for something good with all of the service bands. We have some of the best musicians in the world in our service bands in the United States. And one of the great jazz ensembles in the United States is the Army Blues Jazz Ensemble. And I'm happy to say I was very fortunate to go to school with some people who played in that group. Well, Mark Taylor was their chief arranger for many years. And now he lives in Florida and is a staff arranger for Hal Leonard Music, which is, one of the main music publishers in the world. So this is a great tune called Blue Bossa, and this is going to feature me again, and Lester's going to play. Mark will play on piano, and we're going to feature Jeff Drew on bari sax. So here is Blue Bossa. All right, thank you very much. Jillian, I'm not hearing any of the trumpet anymore on my mic. I don't know if we can fix that. All right, our next number is a standard composition that actually was written in 1916. And it was for a show called The Big Show. And of course, the whole notion of Broadway shows was very new back in 1916, as was this music. Jazz was just barely off the ground at that point. And this was based roughly on an opera by Giacomo Puccini called Madama Butterfly. And Butterfly was a character in the opera, and she didn't have such a good time of it in the opera. It's kind of a sad story, and so this particular composition is kind of alluding to that, hence the title, Poor Butterfly. This is a great arrangement by Dave Snider, who is actually a jazz instructor at a university which I am now drawing a blank on. I think it's in Washington State, if I recall. And he's a bass player. So he wrote this to feature solo bass. And we have one of the best in the whole metro Atlanta area, Mr. Steve Blair, who is going to play a bass solo on this. So here is Poor Butterfly. Stephen Blair on the acoustic bass, one of the best in town. And just so you know, that little solo he played at the end there, unaccompanied, that's called a cadenza, which comes from the Italian word for pause. And what happens during the pause is that somebody plays unaccompanied. And so that's what you heard there. Now, our next tune is another very well-known tune. Most of you will probably recognize, even if you didn't know the name. This was written for another show in 1926. This time, the show was called Betsy. And the show was actually written by Rodgers and Hart, a songwriting team, one of the greatest songwriting teams in American history. Wrote a lot of wonderful music, a lot of famous tunes that many of you would know. And apparently they needed an extra tune for this show, and they asked Irving Berlin to write it for them. Irving Berlin, who was born in 1888 in Russia, and his family migrated to the United States, and he became perhaps the most iconic American composer from that time period. I mean, he wrote God Bless America. He wrote Alexander's Ragtime Band. He wrote a lot of really famous tunes that you guys would be familiar with. And this one, of course, is one of his best known, and apparently it showed up in a couple of Star Trek movies. So, nothing? I get nothing for that? Star Trek? You heard of Star Trek? Yeah, oh, thank you. All right, you are awake. Okay, yes. So this is a wonderful arrangement, again, by Mark Taylor. This is Blue Skies. Still works. You can stay. All right. Good. 1, 2, Did anybody get hurt on that? Right? Yes. All right. A challenging arrangement, that is. Okay, our next tune is one you'll all be familiar with, simply because it happens to be our state song, written by Hoagie Carmichael, who was from Indiana. Go figure. But Hoagie Carmichael was in the scene in the early stages of jazz, and he hung out with guys like Bick Spiderback and Frank Trumbauer, and it was actually Frank Trumbauer, the saxophonist, who told Hoagie Carmichael that he should write a song about the South. He said nobody ever went broke writing about the South. And for a long time there was speculation as to whether or not this tune was actually written for Carmichael's sister, who is also named Georgia. But several sources have confirmed that this is really written about our lovely state of Georgia. This is a very nice arrangement by Mike Tomaro, who happens to be the professor of jazz studies, head of the jazz program at Duquesne University, and one of the top arrangers working today. And this is his arrangement of Georgia on My Mind. It's going to feature Bob Kemp. Bob Graham was the governor of Florida. I don't know why I thought of that. Bob Kemp on alto saxophone. A couple of the others of us are going to play a little bit too. Georgia on My Mind. Okay. I'm going to come down front because we're going to do something a little unusual for a large ensemble concert. We're going to feature a combo. So our pianist, in my opinion, is one of the best in town. He's a hardware engineer by trade and learned piano as a kid and is just one of the most brilliant jazz pianists I know in town. He also happens to be an incredible composer and writes some really wonderful tunes. And he asked if we could feature one of his tunes on the concert, and I said, absolutely. The funny thing is, when I asked him, what do you call it? Well, it's Working Title 2. Working Title 2? That doesn't sound like... And he said, well, Working Title 1 didn't work out so well. So we're going to play Mark Tucker's wonderful tune, Working Title number 2. And by the way, this is a flugelhorn I'm going to be playing on this. Okay, I got too much to do back here. Trying to direct a band and play lead trumpet and play solos, you wouldn't believe it. But no, it's just great fun. And I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by some really fine musicians. And believe it or not, these guys are all students. I know they don't look, some of them, like they're students, but they are. I'd like to introduce the guys in the band so you know who you have been listening to. We just talked a minute ago about Mark Tucker. And Mark, hardware engineer, right? By day, jazz pianist and composer all the other times. Mark Tucker on piano. And we've got a new kid on the block, actually a couple, and we're very happy to have him with us this semester for the first time. Alan Schiffer, who is a music major here at Perimeter College. And Alan wants to play jazz guitar, right? And I think that's his goal, is to be a jazz guitarist. So we're very happy to have him with us. And on drums, we have two very fine drummers. And actually, this young man was a computer science major here at Perimeter College and has now graduated and is now out working and happens to be a great drummer, and we're very happy to have him back with us. Jared Archibald is with us again, yes. Yeah. And somewhere back there is our dean of drum. Oh, you're out there. Oh, okay. Terry Creedon on the drums and percussion back. You went out front. And another young man who joined us this semester, we're very happy to have on electric bass this time, Tyler Richardson. And Tyler also wants to be a jazz musician, so we're very happy to have him with us. All right, now, down in the saxophone section, you've heard several times tonight, this wonderful gentleman, one of the nicest people I know on the planet, and he was a public school band director for many years and is now retired.
I actually have a student in the audience that I have not seen in 45 years.
Are you serious? Oh, that's incredible. Orlando Baylor, thank you. One of Mr. Lester Pleasant's student. That's awesome. That's just really awesome. So that's a tribute to what a guy Lester is, and you heard what a fine player he is. And we featured a few minutes ago this gentleman who has been in the band the whole time I have been directing, and that's 25 years now. And he is a great guy, and I always tease him about being the anchor of the section, but I think in 25 years he's missed maybe 3 rehearsals. And this is Bob Kemp. How about a hand for Bob Kemp on lead alto sax? And we have another gentleman who worked for the Postal Service for many years and decided he wanted to play some jazz music. And so he's come back. If you didn't know, the state of Georgia allows people who have reached a certain age to take classes for free. And so Roxelle Carter is taking advantage of that. We're very happy to have him with us. And another new kid on the block, is not a kid, but he's new to the band this semester. And you were in law enforcement for a while, and I think, and now that you worked at the law. Well, we're very happy to have on baritone sax, Mr. Jeff Drew. And working our way back into the trombone section, we have another tech person who does IT work. I can't explain anything that he does, but he does a lot of stuff and travels all over the country, helping people with servers and all that kind of mess. Nathaniel Atkins, or Addix, I'm sorry, Nathaniel Addix on trombone. Now this guy I've known for 50 plus years. We like to say we went to different high schools together. We actually played in area bands together back in the early 1970s. And he's one of my dear friends and has been in this band a long time. Actually, he was in the very first DeKalb College back in the day, the very first jazz band that existed at this college. Mr. Bob Devine, right here on lead trombone. And another guy who's been around for a minute, and it's funny because we discovered he's literally 1 day older than me. So he didn't quite make Sonny Rollins' birthday, but he was close. And Mark is a physician. He's still working, and he was in the very first version of this band back then with Bob. And so they've known each other a long time, and both went to Emory University and played in their jazz ensemble. And very happy to have him, Dr. Mark Merlin on trumpet. Oh yeah, well, and he's hiding it. Well, we featured him a while ago. Our other bass player, our acoustic bass player, Stephen Blair, is lurking about somewhere. There he is. And Steve is actually an accountant by day and one of the busiest bass players in Atlanta, so we're very happy to have Steve with us. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us for a while on a Monday night, and we are going to end with another very well-known tune by Duke Ellington, and the original title was "There is no importance assigned without the simultaneous addition of a relaxed, steady, syncopated rhythm." No, I made that up. Of course not. That was a joke, y'all. I was trying to be funny, but it didn't work. Took me a while to come up with that, too. I had to find the right one. No, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Here we go. All right, everybody hang on. 1, 2, That's all we got.